Israel is back on the offensive in Gaza City, and in what could lead to a major escalation in this war, 2 Iranian generals were killed in Syria. What's going on, everyone? Let's take a look at some updates as it relates to the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas. I'm recording this at 1 p.m. Central on Saturday, December 2nd, 2023. Overnight, Israel released the name and picture of a colonel that they say was killed on October 7th. That was the initial Hamas attack, or the initial attack that kicked off this war into Israel. Israel says that the colonel's body was taken into Gaza, and they just now have been able to confirm his passing. The Gaza Health Ministry has not updated their statistics since the end of the ceasefire. The last data they put out was on November 29th, saying that at least 15,000 Palestinians have been killed and more than 36,000 wounded since October 7th. A couple notes on that. Those numbers are certainly higher now. The past 48 hours have seen significant Israeli strikes, not just in and around Gaza City, but to Khan Yunis in the south and other areas near Rafah as well. And worth noting that while this information from the Gaza Health Ministry is at the very least vetted by Hamas before it's released to the public, the most recent estimates put out by Israel in terms of overall Palestinian casualties tracked with these same numbers coming from the Gaza Health Ministry. Now, pulling up a map of the situation here to see Israel's focus is still into the north around Gaza City. There's a lot of that urban environment that still has yet to be cleared, and it appears that's what the focus is going to be on here in the coming weeks. Israeli Defense Minister Gallant recently stated, quote, "We are operating in areas where we did not operate in the last month, and this will increase. We are going for the complete elimination of Hamas. The Hamas battalion commanders in Khan Yunis and Rafah understand very well what happened to their counterparts in northern Gaza." Now, just my kind of reading between the lines here, I think Israel is about to really, really get after it in a way in Gaza that we haven't seen so far in this war. Just some of the statements coming from Israeli officials, and if you look at how the situation on the ground has changed, the core mission, Israel's core goal of the elimination of Hamas, still has a long ways to go. That hasn't changed. The ceasefire didn't change that. What the ceasefire did do was it brought around 100 hostages out. So it's 100 fewer hostages Israel has to worry about as they conduct their offensive operations, and gave 7 full days for more civilians to evacuate areas, especially up north, the besieged area of Gaza City. 7 full days with no fighting for civilians to leave that area. I think what we're going to see in the coming days is just a continued increase in the scale and scope of Israeli operations. Then we got a couple of videos to run through here. I've got 2 from the IDF and 1 from Hamas. Hamas put out like 3 or 4 in the last day, but most of them were just like rockets and mortars firing off into the distance with a blurry, shaky screen. Couldn't really see much of anything. So this is IDF clearing some buildings in Gaza City, and still looks like they're pulling security. So this is far from like a totally secured area. Back from the front, could be relatively close to the point of contact. But then in this back room, stacks of unguided short-range rockets. See the fins there. Look, the volume of rocket fire coming out of Gaza on and since October 7th has been staggering. I don't think anybody anticipated that Hamas had as many rockets as they did stored and ready to be used against Israel. Then the second one here was the IDF uncovering a tunnel shaft. They say is 15 meters deep, just right across the street from a school. And we haven't seen a lot of tunnel footage in the last couple of days. Really nothing coming out during the ceasefire. I imagine in the next couple of days we're going to get a lot more around Shifa Hospital. Remember, that is still a big point of contention. What is underneath Shifa? But look, this is one of the challenges that Israel's facing, is these tunnel entrances are right up against protected structures like schools, mosques, and hospitals. And the tunnels may or may not run underneath those facilities, but even striking the entrances becomes a challenge. And one of the main things that Israel is going to be doing as they move through on the ground in Gaza. I mean, there's no way that you can effectively destroy all of these tunnel entrances from the air without causing any damage at all to the surrounding infrastructure, especially when they're this close or even closer to things that people would get upset with. You should be upset, right? If a school is hit with a bomb or destroyed in an airstrike, it should be upsetting to the international community. You can't effectively remove these tunnels from the air from a distance. Israel's going to have to go in on the ground like they are right now, and one at a time, slowly but surely, dismantle this underground network that Hamas has put together. Then we got a video from Hamas here where they say their drones targeted a group of Israeli vehicles. Look, I don't like to show the impacts of drones, missiles, rockets, anything like that where a life could be taken on any side. Also, a lot of these platforms tend to take the videos down when they do that. But no worries here because Hamas doesn't actually show that part. It's kind of a rickety looking drone there, wasn't it? And then they got the over-under model. These are some homemade drones if I ever saw them. But they say that they attacked these Israeli vehicles with these drones and the video is over. There was no actual impact. There was no footage other than what we saw there at the very beginning. It's hard to tell if those are actually from the attack drones or something else. But again, we have not seen a lot from Hamas in terms of the drone war so far. There was an early video showing them dropping a grenade on Israeli forces that were out in the open. Since then, not a lot. From what we can tell, these one-way type attack drones have been used more than like quadcopters against Israeli forces. But even then, it just hasn't been a lot. Nowhere near what I think a lot of people expected when Israel went in on the ground. So one of the major concerns when looking at this war is the possibility of it escalating into a broader regional or even global war. And one thing that could do that would be 2 Iranian generals killed by an Israeli strike, which I think that happened yesterday. So Syrian state media announced overnight that a strike had occurred in Damascus, saying that their air defenses intercepted most of the Israeli missiles, so they called it out, fired at multiple points near the city, adding that the resulting impacts had led to material damages. So in the past, that term material damages has generally meant that runways, one or more runways, have been out of commission for days or even weeks. So worth noting, the reason that Israel is targeting these airports is that they're often used to funnel in military equipment and supplies to the Iranian-backed proxies in the region that can be used to attack Israel. Additionally, on top of this, so we've got the runways potentially out of commission, and then Iranian state media announced that 2 IRGC generals were killed in these strikes, saying that the 2 were on an advisory mission when they were killed by the, quote, Zionist regime, or in other words, Israel. And that came out, again, that's not speculation on Twitter or Telegram or something, that's through official Iranian channels confirming that 2 senior IRGC officers were killed in these strikes. That really opens the door for some escalation that we haven't had in a long time, right? For all of the attacks, the 70-plus attacks happening against U.S. forces in Syria and Iraq, 0 U.S. personnel have been killed. For all of the Houthi attacks against Israel or against the United States ships in the region, 0 U.S. or Israeli personnel have been killed in those attacks. But here, we've got 2 Iranians killed when they say at the hands of Israel. It's just, look, it's not clear what or if Iran is going to do about this. It's just, this is something worth keeping an eye on. But that's all I got for now. Of course, if interested in national security subjects, be sure to check out the sit reps I put out on Substack. Link is in the description below. Substack now also has ad-free, sponsor-free videos that go live about 1 hour before they're up on YouTube. But thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.